Good, how are you?
Good.
Just wash my hands so they're wet.
Let it be clean?
That's the first one.
That's good.
I'm sure that's going to happen in the next few meetings, I'm going to lose it.
Oh, no, I meant like,
I know. Oh, several months ago.
Oh,
And then last week it just fell.
does it still work? This is my plan.
The little cushion.
I'll make a little note.
All right.
the guy from,
See what I mean? Do you want any other warnings? I can give you a list.
I know.
I should still buy it. I'm not drinking tap water. I don't trust it at all. What's the relevance of what happened?
You're talking about the price.
Just stop buying them.
At least you know that's healthy.
That's what?
Oh, that's healthy.
No, it's tap water.
Yeah.
About these filters. These are the best filters you can buy.
Yeah. Right.
So it even comes up with all the measuring.
Really?
And so
No.
this one, zero.
Next Wednesday, or, well, I've got it written down, I just saw it.
Not to mention, I mean,
Not important.
and then all that plastic stuff. Yes,
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I call this meeting to order. It's the regular council meeting of August 26, 2019. Welcome. Will the clerk please take the roll call?
Mayor Pro Tem Bliss,
I'm here.
Councilman Corbett,
Here.
Councilman Gettings,
Here.
Councilor Grafstein. Here. Councilwoman Skack,
Here.
Councilman Soltis.
Here.
Mayor Hartwell.
Yes, I'm here. Would you please rise if you're able for an invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance? We're thankful for having the opportunity to meet together here today, and we ask most humbly for a blessing of our gathering. Brighten our eyes with greater understanding, enrich our hearts with compassion and courage, and again receive our gratitude for this opportunity of fellowship. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I don't actually have an addition. I would just like to congratulate Mrs. March. She has been chosen by the League of Women in Government as a recipient of the Potential Made Possible Scholarship, and as a result, she is going to be attending the ICMA conference this fall in Nashville. So, Mrs. March, congratulations.
Thanks for that comment. I believe there is an addition tonight. Is there a member of council willing to add to reports D5? The tenant, no, we're not going to do it? Okay, we'll delay on that. Any other deletions or additions to the agenda? All right, we can go to public hearings. There's one tonight, it's item A1 on the agenda. It's special approval 1905 from Four Brothers Auto Sales, Inc. at 26209 DeQuinder. Mrs. Marsh, do you have a report?
Yes. So special approval is required to allow a used automotive dealership in the M1 Light Industrial District. This property received special use approval from City Council in 1999 for an auto repair facility at this site. Staff is requesting the special use approval of the auto repair facility at this time to include current ordinance requirements that were not in place when the original special use was granted, and to update the hours of operations, which were 8 to 5. The applicant is proposing to display up to 12 vehicles for sale on the site, with operations Monday through Saturday from 9 to 7. Should City Council approve this request, the following conditions are recommended: no cars displayed within 50 feet of the public right-of-way, no overnight outdoor storage of auto parts or materials, vehicles that are being repaired or waiting to be repaired or services may not be parked for longer than 72 hours on the premises. Further, such disabled vehicles or vehicles awaiting repair or service shall be parked within an enclosed building. All repair work of any nature shall be done within the enclosed building only. The entire site must be in compliance with the requirements listed in the City of Madison Heights zoning ordinance, section 10.3192, with regard to vehicle repair facilities.
All right, before council considers an action, we'll open a public hearing first. The public hearing is open. This is for comments regarding special approval 1905 at the address of 26209 DeQuinder. Do you have comments, sir, on this special hearing?
We are actually here on behalf of the entity.
Okay, well,
Thank you.
you're free to speak now. Could you identify yourself?
Of course, my name is Robert Perrano. I'm an attorney. I represent Four Brothers Auto Sales.
Welcome.
You need to speak directly in the microphone or they can't pick you up.
Attorney Robert A. Perrano. I am here on behalf of Four Brothers Auto Sales, Inc. I am accompanied by
Connie Shimon, S-H-A-M-O-U-N. I'm the manager of U.S. Collision.
Welcome.
one slight correction that does need to be made to the agenda. The address listed here is 26209. It should be 26029.
26029. Okay.
By way of commentary, as you aptly noted, this property was approved for a special land use to allow the repair facility to be conducted on that site. Has been conducted there, and it is planned to continue to be conducted there by my client, who is standing to my left. She actually has done such a great job there. She informs me that she actually has the City of Madison Heights contract.
With the police department, we fixed their cars.
With that stated, our intention by way of seeking this special land use is to additionally be able to sell used vehicles. Now, I want to provide a little bit of information. This will not be sale of vehicles open to the public from the site. Rather, the intention is for the sale of vehicles to be done online. The vehicles that will be there that are available for inspection will only be by appointment to persons who are interested in making those purchases online. So it's not going to be like your traditional used sales lot where people can come freely during business hours and will cause an increase in traffic to the lot. We do not anticipate there's going to be an increase of traffic by adding this use.
No signs, no posters.
Yeah, additionally, we do not plan on installing any additional signage that advertises the additional use that's being sought for the sale of used vehicles, as well as there will not be any advertisements on any of the vehicles themselves indicating that they are open for sale to members of the public. With that stated, we have presented a site plan. If there are any questions about the site plan or any concerns that the city council has for us, we would ask that those be presented at this time, and we are happy to address them.
Oh, well, thank you for attending this meeting. Let's still open it up to the rest of the room. It's still the public hearing for special approval 1905. I checked the paperwork. The only mistake on the address was the agenda. All the other paperwork has the correct address of 26029 DeQuinder Road. Would anyone else like to speak during this public hearing for special approval 1905? Good evening. Could you identify yourself, please?
Hi, my name is Kim Clark. I'm a resident. I live over by Hampton and Gardenia. So I actually wanted to come up here tonight to talk a little bit about what we're doing in the community. I brought Nicole Marriott with me.
Could you, this is specifically for the special approval.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Do you have any comments
No,
about
I do-
special approval?
No, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
That's
I
fine.
jumped the gun.
That's fine. You're doing great. Just hold on a few minutes. Would anyone else like to address special approval 1905? This is a public hearing for special approval. Do you have any other comments you'd like to make before council?
No other comments, and
Okay.
council, if they have any questions or concerns they would like for us to address.
Okay, thank you for joining us tonight. All right, last call. Would anyone like to speak for this special approval? All right, we'll close the public hearing. What's the wish of city council?
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
I move that we approve special approval request 1905 with the stipulations A through E that are included in the memo, as well as stipulation to F regarding the signage of used cars that the applicant committed to on the comments.
Could you repeat that, please?
Yes, approve it with A through E, as well as the addition of an F in the memo that would be pursuant to the vehicle signage for the vehicles listed for sale, and there not being any signage as the applicants have committed to.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bliss. Is there support?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Gettings?
Support.
Thank you. There was a motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Bliss, seconded by Councilman Gettings to grant special approval 1905, subject to the conditions in the memo that were labeled A through E, and the additional condition of F regarding signage. Is there any discussion from city council members?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Actually, a question for the attorney, though, which goes back to the error on the address. If I understood the mayor saying that the only place there was an error was on the agenda, unfortunately, I guess my question is that a harmless error in your judgment, or does it impact the, because that was also what was publicized, and...
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr.
As
Schumer.
long as the notices went to the appropriate parties based on the correct address, which seems to be the case, then it would be a harmless error that's just on the agenda.
Okay. I have no objection to the proposal at all. It seems like a quality upgrade to the property, and thank you very much for your work. It's also.
Thank you. Any other discussion from city council members? All right, let's vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor.
Items on the agenda of interest to parties in the audience. Would anyone like a subject matter to be brought forward at this time? All right. Thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight. All right, we can go to meeting open to the public. This is for any subject. You're welcome to come to the microphone now. If you'd please identify your name and address and any affiliation, and be so kind to limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. I welcome you back, Ms. Clark.
Thank you very much. I apologize for interrupting during that very important part of a city council meeting. It was extremely embarrassing. So I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about what we've been doing the past couple weeks. 11 days ago, the One at a Time Community Response Team, which is an organization that Nicole Marriott and I have started, met to talk about what it was we thought we could do while we were helping our friends Lily get some secure housing to benefit more people in the community. So in that 10 days, we motivated more than 20 residents to donate their items following a citywide garage sale, which is filling up currently more than 400 square feet of my shop. We gathered all the items so that we could have a free rummage sale at Central Church on Saturday, the 31st. We will be looking for volunteers to help sort and set up a nice retail-esque environment for anyone who is in need of anything to come in. We're not taking applications. We're not asking you about your income. We don't really care who comes in. If you're in need of anything at all, we ask that you come in and come sort through these amazing items. There are lots of new, clean clothes for men, women, and children. There's a lot of baby stuff. There's tons of books. There's games. There's tons of toys. There's anything you could think of anyone in need. Also, if anyone knows any crazy coupon people that has a hoarder collection of toiletries that they might be interested in donating, we'd be looking for some of those too, because toiletries is a huge item that homeless people need. On that note, I'll let Nicole talk a little bit about the event itself.
Thank you, welcome.
My name is Nicole Marriott. I live on Barrington.
Welcome.
Sorry. Central Church this weekend. We need August 31st from 10 to 4. And then we need volunteers for both Friday to drop off the donations to the Central Church and go through the donations from 2 to 4. And our next meeting is September 5th. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Marriott.
If I can have just like one more minute, I also wanted to just go a little bit over about some of the arts board successes.
You still have time left.
We had a very successful Conies and Karaoke. The Arts Board raised more than $700 to further our efforts to introduce more arts and culture activities to the city. We just discovered that we may be getting our first Bishop Foley representative on the board, so we will have all the schools represented on our Arts Board, and we're pretty excited about it. We are currently in video production of our video for the Michigan Municipal League Community Excellence Award presentation. We should know if we get that award by September 27th. And then lastly, we will be hosting a pumpkin carving on October 29th. We're still pulling together all the details and information of that, but we wanted to put it in everybody's ear so that if they're making plans for Halloween, plan to join the Arts Board for a pumpkin carving contest.
Thank you.
Thanks, that's all.
Nobody else? All right, we'll close this portion of the meeting. We can continue on. There are no communications. However, we have reports tonight. There's item D1. It's a report from the DPS director. It's the 2019 to 20 Road Commission for Oakland County Winter Maintenance Agreement. Mrs. Marsh, do you have a report?
Yes, provided for council's consideration is the agreement with the Oakland County for the city to provide winter maintenance on the county roads within Madison Heights. This contract allows for $6,811 per mile of 4- or 5-lane road and $8,400 per mile of 6-lane road. The total amount of the contract is $39,971.78, which reflects a 2.5% increase from last year. Staff and I recommend that City Council approve the contract and authorize the mayor and City Council to sign on behalf of the city.
Thank you, Mrs. Marsh. What's the wish of City Council?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
So I move that the council approve the recommended contract for the 2019-20 Road Commission with the Road Commission for Oakland County Winter Maintenance. It's an agreement, and we authorize the mayor and the city clerk to sign on behalf of the city.
Thank you. Is there support?
Your Honor.
Ms. Grafstein?
Support.
Thank you. A motion was made by Councilman Corbett, seconded by Councilor Grafstein to approve the recommended contract for 2019 to 20 winter maintenance agreement between the City of Madison Heights and the Road Commission for Oakland County, and also authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the agreement on behalf of the city. Is there discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please, Mrs.
Is there
Scott.
anybody here from the county that could answer a question regarding that?
I
There
don't
is
think
not, but
we
you
have a
can-
guest.
You can ask your question. If we don't know it, we can get an
All right,
answer.
I wanted to know why the increase, I mean, I'm sure the answer is obvious, but I would like to hear why there is an increase.
It's got to be close to
I'll have
inflation.
to ask Oakland County, other than that is just the cost of general inflation and the cost of employees. So it's supposedly the cost that it takes us to plow the snow and do the salt there, even though it's more than that. But I would expect that would be why.
That's a great question.
Okay, just wondering, you know, does everything have to be increased? That's just what I'm asking for our budget.
Well, this
concerning
is
our
more
budget.
money for us, so it's a positive thing that they've increased it.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Any other discussion from City Council? All right, let's vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries. The next report, it's agenda item D2. It's from the police chief. It's the memorandum of understanding from Homeland Security Department. Mrs. March, do you have a report?
Yes, since the reinstatement of our Special Investigations Unit, one of our officers has been trained by Homeland Security in order to enforce some federal laws as they pertain to human trafficking and related offenses. Staff and I recommend that City Council approve the memorandum of understanding between the city and Homeland Security to allow our officer to have federal authority, enhancing the ability of our SIU to investigate and prosecute crimes within the city.
Thank you. What's the wish of City Council?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mrs. Scott.
I move for City Council to approve the memorandum of understanding between the city and the Homeland Security to allow our officer to have federal authority, enhancing the ability of our SIU to investigate and prosecute crimes within our city.
Thank you, Mrs. Scott. Is there support?
Your Honor.
Mr. Mayor. Ms. Grafstein?
Support.
Thank you. Motion was made by Councilwoman Scott, seconded by Councilor Grafstein, to approve the memorandum of understanding between the City of Madison Heights and Homeland Security to allow our police officer to have federal authority, thereby enhancing the ability of our Special Investigations Unit to investigate and prosecute crimes within our city. Before we have discussion from council, I'd like to invite Police Chief Haynes up to give a history of the work City Council's done the last several years to enhance special investigations and undercover. I especially would like you to go back to 2013, 14, 15, and what led to some of the collaborations we started. Could you just paint the history for us?
Sure. We started out, obviously it was presented to council that we needed some more efforts in an undercover capacity for some of the crimes that were being occurred in the city, especially as it pertained to the hotels. The first thing that City Council did was to form, allow us to form an alliance with the federal government, specifically with the FBI Violent Crimes Task Force. That has proven to be a very beneficial relationship, as they have done a lot of detection of crime and made a lot of arrests within our city. We further enhanced it by moving and becoming part of the Troy Special Investigations Unit. After that, again, that has been very beneficial, but we were able to save some money through the budget process with the enhancement and rebuilding of the gun range. And council was gracious enough to allow us to get our own Special Investigations Unit back up and running for our city's undercover officers, at which time we brought our undercover officer back from the Troy Special Investigations Unit to be part of our undercover investigations unit. Since that time, which was roughly the late January of this year, our Special Investigations Unit has been just phenomenal. They have made so many felony arrests. They have saved multiple victims that have been proven to have been victims of human trafficking that have actually came here to the United States from China and been put into slave labor here. And our SIU has been instrumental across the state now in identifying these situations, which is why we formed a very close relationship with Homeland Security. And Homeland Security graciously asked us to become part of one of their task forces by training one of our officers in the task force requirements, so that if they're not available with as much work as we've been doing, we will have the ability to have a federal agent, for lack of a better term, on our crew at all times.
Thank you, Chief Haynes. Council, all 7 members of council, I know Dave Soltis speaks up a lot about protecting our most vulnerable, but to get a report from you that our years of work have led to saving victims and cleaning up the hotels and protecting our residents and the people that travel to our city. Thank you for that report.
Absolutely.
I know there's an analogy in law enforcement. Crime, especially organized crime, is like rushing water. As soon as you stop sweeping it, it's just going to rush right back in. So we know it's nothing to celebrate. If anything, it's a call for us to continue working closely with you as a chief and a city manager to better understand how we can equip your officers to protect our city. Other comments from council?
Your Honor?
Mr. Soltis.
Chief, if you could answer for the folks at home, what this, if you can, in as much detail as you can, about what this means for another detective to be part of the FBI task force. I mean, how is that, for the folks at home, how is that really going to equate to helping fight the crime in the city?
Well, this is specifically part of Homeland Security investigations, which is also part of, well, it's part of the federal government, obviously, but it's also part of the Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And what we have found through these investigations is a lot of the victims of the human trafficking are, I guess, for lack of a better term, they're here on like a B-2 visa is what most of them are here on. And unfortunately, that means they have to be deported in most cases. Having a federal agent or a task force agent on our side of the law will help us keep these people safe and protect them by having them stay here longer. We're able to work with the federal government in a closer relationship so that we get them protection, we get them a place to stay, we provide them with food, meals, as part of the federal government would do, again, to keep them safe. So it really has a big outreach as far as the victim part goes, but also as far as the suspect part of the people, the arrestees, we're able to actually get them charged under federal law, which carries much higher penalties for what they're doing to victims than just our own state laws allow us to do.
Right, that's what I was hoping you'd say. And isn't it true that 2 years ago, I think it was in the summer, when they had the large human trafficking bust, and then that's when the feds were able to come in and file the federal charges with the Attorney General of Michigan?
Yes. Yes, and we use that now. We're able to use that more where with just our regular officers in SIU, we're I don't want to say we're stuck, but we use the state. And when we're not able to get charges through the state, we get charges through our own local ordinances. Having the task force officer, it allows us to get charges through the federal government, which again, for human trafficking purposes, carry much higher penalties.
And wasn't it, I mean, it's also true that 2 years ago, they arrested 4 individuals, sent them away, federal prison.
Yes.
And broke up this huge human trafficking.
Yes,
one of them.
a very large human trafficking ring.
Thank you.
Other comments from city council members?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please.
I speak on behalf of the Madison Heights Women's Club, as I'm sure Rosalind would like to also speak, but I want to thank you for helping us with this. This has been a problem that the Women's Club have worked on for at least 3 or 4 years that I can think of. It was brought to our attention by Darlene Barrett, who's our member, and we really had no recognition of the fact that this problem even existed until she brought it to us. And we've been focusing on that for several years, and so you have made a great dent in us trying to help and against that cause. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just a quick comment to that too. Even as the chief of police, you know, I knew that we had the issue with human trafficking, but even I was shocked to find out how the world is connected and how tightly connected that we're actually seeing victims from China being brought here and put into forced labor. I mean, unless you actually see it, it's hard to fathom. So, again, you're very welcome, and I hope we continue to do such a great job with what we're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Scott. Are there other council comments? All right, let's vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The motion carries. The next report is item D3. It's from the city clerk. It's the reappointments of members to our city boards and city commissions. Mrs. Marsh, do you have a report?
Yes, so several months ago, City Council changed the way they do board appointments. So they approved a semi-annual reappointment process to the boards and commissions. All applicants with expiring terms that wish to be reappointed are included with a summary of the boards for each member that they're served on, along with their attendance record, the term type, and the term length. So this is the first time we'll be doing this semi-annual reappointment process. The period is in August, and there'll be another one in February. So all of those reappointments are presented for council tonight, and there would be 2 motions. The first motion would be to appoint the mayor's reappointments, and the second one would be for the council reappointments, if you wish to make any of those reappointments. So for any seat that you don't want to reappoint somebody, it will remain vacant, and that will be then moved to the next agenda item, which would be new appointments.
If you want to start with mine, City Council, I nominate the 3 willing applicants to the Crime Commission, Doug McLean for a regular term, Martha Kehoe for a regular term, and Janice, Nikitin as the alternate term. So if council would confirm those appointments to the Crime Commission.
Mr.
Those are
Mayor.
mayor's appointments. Yes, sir.
Move to confirm the mayor's reappointments of Douglas McLean, Martha Kehoe, and Janice Nikitin to the Crime Commission for all term, well, no, there's a variation on the terms, to 21 and 22 as noted.
Okay, thank you. Is there support?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Gettings?
support.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on appointing these three to the terms as noted?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I just want to remind the public that you are welcome to attend any of our meetings. They are all open to the public, and we encourage that. So even if you made an application and it's not just the Crime Commission, but if you've made an application, you are still welcome to come to the meetings, even if you are not on the board.
Thank you. Is there other discussion to confirm these mayor's appointments? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, motion carries. The next mayor's appointment, if you will, council, I appoint Bruce Kahn to the, I would nominate Bruce Kahn to a seat on the city's planning commission. He's already serving. It would be a term expiring 8/31/22.
Your Honor.
Mr. Bliss?
Happy to make the motion to confirm the mayor's appointment to reappoint Bruce Kahn to the Planning Commission with a term that would expire 8/31/22.
Thank you. Is there support?
Your Honor,
Ms. Grafstein?
support.
Thank you. Any discussion regarding my appointment of Bruce Kahn to planning for the term as noted? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say no. The motion carries. All right. That's my last nomination for this section. So that would open it up for any council nominations to other boards and commissions.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Move to reappoint Alexander Betts to the Environmental Citizens Committee. Did I do it wrong? I'm sorry.
So far, so good. For the term noted, I like
You
how
know what?
phrased it.
Your Honor.
Oh,
No, that's okay. Right now, we're just going, I just want to make sure I understand. Right now, we are reappointing, is that correct?
yeah, I'm in the reappointing
Okay.
section.
That is a reappointment.
Yeah.
But if it
Okay.
does, if you
But-
don't reappoint, then the seat is open.
But if we don't
Yes.
reappoint, then the seat is left open
Okay.
for the second
The
section.
motion on the table was to appoint Alexander Betts.
I'll withdraw for the
Okay.
moment, Your Honor.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
I'll accept other council nominations.
Let me try again, sir. How about Laura Gudua?
Gadua.
Gadua, thank you. For the Library Advisory Commission, a term which will be expiring 8/31/21.
Thank you. Is there support?
Your Honor,
Mr.
I'll
Bliss?
second.
Okay, there was a motion made for Lauren Gadua to serve on the Library Advisory Committee for the term that was noted. Is there discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The motion carries. Are there other reappointments?
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
I move that we reappoint Curtis Kogelman to ITAC with a term that would expire 2/28/22.
Thank you, sir. Is there support?
Your Honor,
Ms. Grafstein?
support.
Thank you. Any discussion regarding the appointment of Curtis Kogelman to the ITAC for the term as noted? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The motion carries. Are there other council reappointments this evening? Okay, well, that'll lead us to the next item on the agenda. It's item D4. It's a report from the city clerk. It is not reappointments, but it's appointments to positions on our city boards and commissions. So similar to what we just did, but we'll open it up for, let's just start with council nominations. Is council ready?
I will make one note. So this is where you didn't reappoint to the Environmental Citizens Committee, so it should say choose 3 on this page, if that's what you wish to do.
Just to confirm, that's 2 alternates and 1 regular appointment. Correct. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, Your Honor,
Yes, Ms. Grafstein.
I'm not quite sure, how would you like me to do this? I would like to appoint 3 people to the Environmental Citizens Committee. 2 alternate and 1 regular.
We'll do them in a bunch if you're
Okay.
clear with who gets what seat.
Okay. The 2 alternates, and I apologize if I am mispronouncing the name, would be Yehan Yosef, Jehan, I apologize again if I've mispronounced that, and Yves Sandoval.
What's the second name?
Yves Sandoval, Sandoval.
Genevieve.
And then to the regular position to take over the recently vacated would be Aaron Work.
Okay, Counselor Grafstein. Is there support for Counselor Grafstein's nominations?
Your Honor.
Mr. Bliss?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Bliss.
Your Honor?
I'll repeat those. Oh, yes.
I just need clarification on the terms for the alternates. We have 1 term expiring in 20 and 1 in 21.
Let's give Eve the one expiring in 21, the later date one, and the other gentleman, the one expiring in 20. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll repeat it. Counselor Grafstein nominated, which was supported by Mayor Pro Tem Bliss, the following 3 people to serve on the Environmental Citizens Committee. Aaron Work, to fill the recently vacated regular seat. Genevieve Sandoval, to fill the alternate seat expiring in 2021. And Yehan Yusuf, to fill the alternate seat expiring in 2020. Is there discussion on these 3 nominations?
Your Honor.
Yes, please.
So one of the things I found when I joined council and I was going to some of my meetings was that we have, and I've heard this from other people, that we have people who stay on that aren't necessarily contributing as much as they could, and we've got the attendance records. And so the gentleman who Mr. Corbett did try to put on, the reason that I chose to not have him come back was because we actually have 7 people who've applied to be on this board, and Mr. Betts has shown up at 40% of the meetings, and I get everyone's busy and everyone's schedule doesn't necessarily mean that they can come to the meetings, but my hope is that, that these 3 people will be able to come. As well, with the people that I've put on, one has experience with pollinator gardening, which, as everyone knows, is a big thing that I'm looking at right now. One has a science degree and one is an actual environmental scientist. And I just think that those are qualifications that I'm looking for the environmental citizens. I personally have no qualifications other than what I've learned on my own. I have no letters that go after my name that apply to anything environmental, and so I'm looking for guidance from this board. And I think that these 3 people will hopefully, they will do a good job of it.
Thank you. Is there other discussion on these nominations? All right, let's vote. All in favor of appointing these 3, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The motion is carried. They're all appointed. Are there other council nominations right now?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Corbett.
Yeah, I would move on the Library Advisory Board. I would move to appoint to the 3 regular terms, Elizabeth Blaumenberg to a term ending August 31st, 2021, Deborah Shepard to a term ending 8/31/2020, Asel Saeed to a term ending 8/31/2020, and to the alternate position, which will expire 8/31/2021, I would appoint Ashton Southard to a term ending 8/31/2021. Alternate.
Thank you. Is there support?
Your Honor.
Mr. Bliss?
I'll second that.
Can I ask the clerk to repeat the motion? Thank you.
Funny guy.
The motion by Councilman Corbett to appoint Elizabeth Blamenberg to the regular term expiring in 2021, to Deborah Shepard to the regular term expiring in 2020, Aseel Saeed to the regular term expiring in 2020, and Ashton Southard to the alternate term expiring in 2021.
Thank you. Is there discussion regarding these nominations? All right, let's vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, to just a comment on the zoning board of appeals. We have a request into the attorney's office for an opinion on the number of alternates appropriate for that board, so we'll not be offering a nomination on that tonight. I expect to get the attorney opinion back shortly, sir.
Okay, great, thank you. Are there other nominations from members of City Council?
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
I move that we appoint Mary Bush to the alternate term on the CDBG Review Committee that would expire 8/31/21.
I'm sorry, who did-
Mary Bush.
Mary, okay.
CDBG Review Committee, 8/31/21.
Your Honor, I'll support the nomination.
Thank you, Mr. Bliss. Thank you, Mr. Corbett. Is there any discussion regarding appointing Mary Bush to the CDBG Review Committee? It's the alternate seat expiring in 2021. Is there discussion from council? Okay, hearing none, let's vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The motion carries. Are there other nominations from council?
Your Honor,
Yes, please.
if I'm correct, there's still an alternate spot on the Crime Commission?
Yes.
And is that a mayor's appointment?
Yes.
Crime Commission is here.
Would you like a suggestion on who I would like, would you like a suggestion on who I would like to see on that, Your Honor?
Respectfully, no, not right now.
Okay.
Are there other city council nominations for non-mayor appointment boards?
Your Honor, there
Mr.
are a
Mayor?
couple.
Yes.
Yes, I would like to appoint Anna Janik Shaw to the Historical Commission for a 3-year term, and that would be expiring 2/28/2023. Is that correct, how I did that?
Yeah, that sounds fine.
Would that be the next one?
Not 2023, we have a couple terms that end in 2020 and a couple that also end in 21.
Okay, then let's take the 2021 that expired.
Okay, is there support?
Your Honor,
Yes, Ms. Grafstein.
support.
Any discussion regarding Anna Janik to fill this seat on the Historical Board, Historical Commission? All right, let's vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Okay, the motion carries. Any other council appointments?
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
there is one left on this list. I move that we appoint Margaret Topping to the regular term expiring 8/31/22 for the Active Adult Advisory Board.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the name?
Margaret Topping.
Thank you. Is there support?
Mr. Mayor?
Mrs. Scott?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion regarding appointing Margaret Topping to the Active Adult Advisory Board, the seat expiring 2022? No discussion. Let's vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The motion carries. Any other council appointments?
Your
You're
Honor.
up.
Yes, Mr. Soltis.
So if we were on the next page, the Multicultural Relation Advisory Board, I'd like to nominate the first, so nominate 4 total, 2 for the regular term expiring 8/31/21. Mr. Joseph, how do you pronounce his first name?
Jahan, maybe?
I'm not sure.
Jahan Joseph, and then Asil Saeed, but it's spelled differently under the Environmental Citizens Committee. So I don't know if that's the same, is that a spelling error?
Yes, it's the same person.
Okay, so Mr. Asil Saeed for the 2 regular terms expiring 8/31/21, and then in terms of the, I nominate for the 2 regular terms expiring 8/31/22, Latoya Simone Moy and Deborah Shepherd.
Thank you. Is there support?
Your Honor,
Mr. Bliss?
I'll second.
Thank you. Will the clerk please repeat the motion?
Okay, the motion is to approve for the Multicultural Relations Advisory Board, Jaheen Yosef for a regular term expiring in 2021, Asil Saeed, regular term expiring in 2021, Latoy Simone Moy, I apologize, for a regular term expiring in 2022, and Deborah Shepherd for a regular term expiring in 2022.
Thank you. Is there discussion on this matter? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries. Any other council appointments? Okay. There's some mayor's nominations. Councilor Grafstein, you had a recommendation for Crime Commission?
Lisa Lenart-Sanoa.
All right, I agree. She is definitely qualified as a retired law enforcement. I believe it's federal probation officer, if I had that right. So would council please confirm my appointment of Lisa Leonard to fill the alternate term on the Crime Commission expiring 2022?
Your Honor,
Yes, please.
I'd like to confirm that.
Thank you, Ms. Grafstein. Is there support?
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Scott?
second.
Thank you. Any discussion on confirming my appointment of Lisa Leonard to the Crime Commission alternate seat?
Your Honor, just following what I was saying with the environmental committee, environmental committee, I wanted to see environmental scientists and people who had an interest and a passion for gardening and pollinator and the environment. And the person that I've asked you to put down as the alternate is someone who has a background with, she was a probation officer. She's got the background with the police, and so just following the way that I'd like to see the committees and boards that I'm on, and really all the committees and boards in the city, just having people who know what they're doing. It's great to have people who have the interest, but also having a few people who have the actual experience.
Thank you. Any other discussion regarding this mayor's appointment? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The motion carries. There's another mayor's appointment. Give me 1 minute. Would City Council please confirm my appointment of Yihan Yusuf to the alternate seat on the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board? Your Honor. Mr. Bliss?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there support?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Corbett?
support.
Thank you. Any discussion on this mayor's appointment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. I'd like to make one more mayor's nomination. I would nominate James Smith to fill the vacant regular seat on the Planning Commission on a term expiring 2022. Would someone from council please confirm my nomination?
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Scott?
I would like to confirm James Smith.
Thank you. To a seat on the Planning Board?
Yes, on the Planning Commission, a regular term expiring August 31st, 2022.
Very well, thank you. Is there support?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Corbett?
support.
Any discussion on this mayor's appointment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed say no. Motion carries. I don't have any further nominations this evening. Does City Council have any other nominations? All right. We can continue on the agenda. We can go to item F1. It's a bid award or purchase from the CEE Director regarding the master plan consultant. Mrs. Marsh, do you have a report?
Yes, at the regular Planning Commission meeting of November the 20th, the commission voted to unanimously recommend that City Council place a master plan revision into the 2020 budget. Based on this recommendation and the current need to update the Parks and Recreation Plan, City Council did allocate those resources. Once a new master plan is adopted, it will provide the guiding framework for the city's future land use and development, as well as recreation facilities. The State Planning Enabling Act requires that the master plan be reviewed and revised every 5 years. The city's current master plan has been in existence since 1990 and has been amended several times since being adopted, but has not been rewritten. In coordination with this master plan rewrite, the Parks and Recreation Committee has been tasked with rewriting the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. The Parks and Recreation Master Plan is required to be updated in order to apply for potential grants through the state of Michigan to upgrade recreation facilities like we have at Wildwood Park. Both boards determined that it would be most cost-efficient and beneficial to conduct both of these studies simultaneously. Staff issued a request for proposals. We received 3 interested consultants. While all of the consultants demonstrated a high degree of understanding of the city's needs, Giffords Webster had the best experience for this process. They are being recommended over the other 2 bidders for a few reasons. The first was the experience of the team that would be led by senior planners with experience in gathering public input and drafting a new master plan that addresses a variety of demands outlined in the RFP. The second reason was because of the level of involvement from senior staff during all aspects of this project, including participation in several key meetings. The third reason was because of their advanced approach and multifaceted public input gathering through both in-person and online tools that will allow a variety of options for businesses and residents to participate, because that's really vital for the success of this master plan. And finally, their costs were the most clearly outlined, and the selection committee felt that they would not have any additional expenses that would accrue unless the city decided to change the scope of this process. So staff and I recommend that City Council approve the contract with Giffords Webster to update the master plan and the Parks and Recreation Plan not to exceed $91,800, and to authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign, and there are representatives here from the firm.
Thank you, Mrs. Marsh. What's the wish of City Council?
Your Honor,
Yes, Mr. Bliss?
I move that we approve the agreement with Giffords Webster for professional services to assist the city with updating the master plan and the Parks and Rec master plan for an amount not to exceed $91,800. And I'd also like to authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign on behalf.
Thank you. Is there support?
Your Honor,
Mrs. Grafstein?
support.
Thank you. Motion was made by Mayor Pro Tem Bliss, seconded by Councilor Grafstein, to approve the contract with Giffords Webster to update the master plan and the Parks and Recreation Plan for an amount not to exceed $91,800, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute for the city. Is there discussion from City Council?
Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
If there are representatives here, I'd love to hear kind of their background and what they're looking forward to with taking on this project.
There are 2 representatives here.
Yes, there are 2 representatives here this evening. I'm going to have Jill and Matt, if you guys want to step up there and kind of introduce yourselves and a little bit about the firm.
Welcome.
Good evening. I'm Jill Boehm. I'm a partner at Giffords Webster and a planner. And with me tonight is
Matt Wojciechowski. I'm a staff planner at Giffords Webster.
Welcome.
Thank you. We're really excited to be here with you this evening. Thank you for considering us and our contract with you. A little bit of background on the planning staff in particular. Giffords Webster is a multidisciplinary consulting firm that has been in existence for it's about 67 years, I think now. Primarily started as a civil engineering firm, but moved into surveying, landscape architecture, and acquired Clear Zoning, the company that we were with previously, in 2016 as our entire planning staff. You may be familiar with Clear Zoning, our firm that was organized by Rod Arroyo and Dave Birchler, who also were previously known as Birchler Arroyo. Birchler Arroyo, both Rod and Dave worked on the city's 1990 master plan, as well as the last Parks and Recreation plan. I'll be the partner in charge on this project and the project manager. I have over 20 years of planning experience at different levels. I've worked as a city planner. I interned at the City of Berkeley and City of Royal Oak. I worked as a city planner for the City of Birmingham. I've worked a little bit in the private sector, was a DDA director for Highland Township in Oakland County, and then have been a consultant for the last 11 or 12 years now. Really enjoying working with the different communities, on a variety of projects. We're really excited to be with you in Madison Heights. As you mentioned in the introduction, we have a lot of ways that we are looking to engage the community. It's been nice hearing too, and my ears were kind of perking up every time you mentioned different commission. That's quite a process that you all had to go through there. But thinking about, there's more people that we can tap into to participate in both the master plan and the Parks and Recreation plan. So that's exciting. It was nice hearing the short presentation from the women that were here earlier. Other people that we can get involved in the process too. So I think that's probably one of the things that we're really looking forward to the most is really getting in and talking and listening to people in your community, residents and business owners. We come to every project looking to help the community be a better version of itself. We don't come telling you the way we think it should be. If you ask us what are other communities doing, we do have all of that background in other communities to tell you that. But ultimately, it's your choice at the end of the day, and it's your community. We just want to help you be the best Madison Heights you can be. So I'm happy to answer any questions of either of us. We do have a couple other folks on our team that couldn't be here tonight, but we have 2 other planners at least on our team, as well as a GIS staff. So they'll be helping us with all kinds of maps, as well as our partners at the Chesapeake Group who will be helping us with the market study.
Well, thank you, Jill. Thank you, Matt, for being here. State law requires us to do this, but I think there have been dramatic changes in the city. But what you mentioned about citizen involvement, we were part of a benchmarking program years ago where we compared ourselves to other cities, how many boards and commission volunteers we have. We had something like 200 volunteers where the average city had like 30. So we have very robust citizen participation in the decision-making at City Hall. And yeah, you got a sample to see some of those boards. And those boards truly reflect the character and the heart of our city. When we talk about, obviously, the crime, the brass tacks of government, planning, zoning, and crime, and library, but that extends to the Multicultural Relations Board, and the Environmental Board, and the Informational Technology Board. I mean, it's not bureaucracy that slows things down. It's actually a really beautiful way to get direct feedback and control from our citizens in our citizens' hands. And I think you'll really enjoy this project as you see how some of our neighborhoods have changed over time. I think of like zoning and the master plan. I haven't thought this out deeply, so bear with me. Somewhat of like the seating chart for an orchestra or a rock band. I mean, there are very specific reasons why certain zones are zoned the way. They complement each other as you go across the orchestra. But sometimes you need to change things up to play and perform the music you want to perform. And so you are the conductor that gets to help us recompose our orchestra. And that's a weird analogy, but. And many council members regularly attend statewide conferences and classes where your firm has booths, and we have seen your products, the Clear Zoning product, and I'm really excited just to see that we're partnering with a leader in the region for help, advising us. So thank you for being here tonight, and I look forward to the process with you.
Thank you. And your point about being at the statewide conferences, we do have booths, but we also are educators and trainers. That's probably, besides the work that we do directly with our communities, that's probably our next favorite thing to do. And I'll be speaking at the Michigan Association of Planning Conference in September. So I don't know if any of you folks attend that conference, but we will be there at that, as well as at the Michigan Downtown Association Conference in November in Holland. So those are my 2 plugs for upcoming
Great.
sessions. Oh, and if you have a copy of the latest Michigan Planner magazine, most of the magazine is dedicated to housing this month, and I have an article that's featured in there.
That's great. Thank you. Other council comments or questions?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please.
Yes, Jill, and your summer, was your name Nat? Matt,
Yes,
okay. Matt, okay. As a lifetime member of the Madison Heights Community Roundtable, I think I have the authority to invite you to attend any of our meetings where you will have firsthand knowledge and personal contact with all representatives of clubs all through the city, and several of the boards and commissions too. But we meet on the third Wednesday of every month, beginning at 11:30. It lasts till 1 o'clock. And everybody makes a presentation about what their group is doing. We do some fundraising, and we do honor our members and our groups. And we do a lot of interchanging of dates and figures and helping each other out on projects, whether it be financially or, with members there. But we do not meet in July, August, and December. But the rest of the months, we meet every Wednesday, every third Wednesday. And the meetings take place at the Lanphier Board Office, which is on Dorchester in Madison Heights. And if you leave your information, I'd be happy to make sure that you get some mailings and information about the group. Thank you.
Good place for us to.
Yes.
Other
Mr.
comments?
Mayor.
Mr. Gettings?
I have a real hard time spending $91,000 on this when it would give us almost a full-time person in a recreation department. I know that our hands are kind of tied because we have to have a master plan in effect in order to go for DNR and other grants through the state. I'm sure it's money well spent. I hope you guys can assure us that it is. And
We will do our best. And we do have experience writing grants for the Michigan Department of Natural Resources Trust Fund, Natural Features Trust Fund grants, and Recreation Passport grant opportunities. This year, we helped White Lake Township with a successful grant application to acquire some property in the township. It was a $1.4 million grant that they were able to receive from the state of Michigan to acquire some lakefront property that they'll be using.
so you're saying you'd be able to help us with some grant writing?
We can help you with that, and that will be part of the process too, is really identifying from a big picture perspective, what do you need in terms of recreation for your community? Is it an acquisition of property? Is it redevelopment of property? Is it improving different parts of the recreation system, facilities, different kinds of equipment and things like that? And then working through an action program that'll identify over the next 5 years, what do we need to do? Where does that money come from? And then pointing out, making a really good case for you to either go ahead and make that application, or we'd be able to assist you with that later.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Soltis?
Sorry, I just want to follow up with Councilman Gettings. Because if I'm reading it correctly, the total amount is $91,800. And then you're getting 12 equal monthly payments of $7,645. And then it says here that you have staff members ranging from clerical at $40 an hour to an expert witness is $200 an hour. And so, like Councilman Giddings said, it seems like a lot of money spending. What about if we don't, let's just say, for instance, we don't necessarily like the way you're going? How does that work then? If the ideas that you're coming up with aren't necessarily matching what we thought of or what we envision.
We will find that out. It won't be at the end of the day where, we present you with a document and you look at it and say, where did this come from? This doesn't even look like our community. These products will be coming to you, coming to the Planning Commission and Parks and Rec Commission on a routine basis. So staff will be in contact with us, and we will set up that as we move forward. What's our communications plan? Will it be every other week? We'll get in touch with Barry or other staff and have that constant communication. Honestly, I've never had that happen.
Right. And so, is it possible that it'll go over the $91,800?
Not if we stick to the scope. No, we will not.
Not if we stick to the scope?
If there are additional things that are asked of us that are outside the scope, then we can negotiate that, what that fee might be. But at this point, we will do everything that we say for that price, even if it costs us more to do the work than we anticipated. So that's on us as well.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor, the project's billed as a flat fee, so there's no room for dramatically escalating, timely bills, billable hours.
Right, and those extra hours was attached in there as an information. If we go, if there's additional work included, that you have an idea of what that might be. That we wouldn't present you with another fee schedule later. Oh, now you want more work, oh, well, that's gonna cost, you know, extra. We don't know what it is up front. If it's about so many hours, it'll be in here.
Mr. Bliss, did you speak up?
Yes, Your Honor. Couple things. First, if somehow you unearth insights through the market analysis or through the community outreach that you're doing that are opposite to what we up here think, I'd constitute that as a huge win because maybe we missed something. Maybe it means that we need to run it again if our hypothesis is tested. But I want that third-party validation or allowing that third-party insight to help us course correct if we're going in the wrong direction. And I would also say on the cost side, we're pooling two together. I believe for the last Parks and Rec master plan, and staff can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was somewhere around like 50 or 60,000 just to do the Parks and Rec piece. And we haven't done the master plan on the other side in 2 decades. And it just reminds me of the old quote. I don't know who said it. Somebody could probably Google it. But everyone ends up somewhere. Not everyone ends up somewhere on purpose. And to go back to Mayor Hartwell's analogy with the orchestra playing, we've basically been asking an orchestra to play jazz for the last 20 years. There's been no sheet music, no direction, nothing. And they've just been getting up there and playing to the best of their ability. This master plan allows us to give them sheet music that is informed by the public, by market analysis, but by the needs of our community, current and future, which will allow us to make sure that we're building the right steps to take the city in the right direction. And honestly, I'm really excited because we have staff ready to go to take the ball and run with it on this. We've added some phenomenal folks. One of them spoke. And I'm excited to see what that is, and I'm also excited that this is the Planning Commission's first chance to be involved in this process in 20 years. And so it's going to be good for our city. I understand that there's a significant price tag, but one singular decision on zoning in any way, shape, or form, one decision more than pays for this, whether it's positive or a negative. It's a worthwhile investment. We're going to see significant ROI on this. And I'm personally enthusiastically supporting this initiative. And I'm one of the first ones to always call out when we're wasting money. So I'm very much in favor. And I hope my colleagues will join me in supporting this.
Other comments?
Just have one quick comment, Your Mayor.
Okay.
Because we have a master plan for our Parks and Recreation, which is expiring, we were able to get 2 grants from MDNR, one for $75,000, I think the other one for $50,000. So that far exceeds the amount of the study, and that plan is expiring. It has to be redone in order for us to be eligible to apply for any more grants. So the grant opportunities alone far exceed the cost of doing the study and really getting a roadmap for the future.
Other comments? All right, let's vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed say no. Motion carries. Let's see. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon. The next bid award or purchase is item F2 on the agenda. It's from the police chief. It's the police vehicle in-car printers. Mrs. Marsh, do you have a report on this item?
Yes, included in the fiscal year 2020 budget were new printers for the police vehicles. The current printers are experiencing failures and are past their warranty period. Therefore, staff and I recommend that council approve the purchase of 17 printers, that would be 15 installed and 2 spares, from CDWG in Oakland County, competitive bid with Clemens Software. Total cost for the printers will not exceed $10,313 plus installation.
Thank you. What's the wish of City Council?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mrs. Scott?
I move for council to approve the purchase of 17 printers, with those being 15 installed and 2 spares, from CDW-G on the Oakland County competitive bid with Clemens Software. Total cost for the printers will not exceed $10,313 plus installation.
Thank you. Is there support?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Corbett?
support.
Thank you. Motion was made by Councilwoman Scott, seconded by Councilman Corbett, to approve the purchase of 17 printers from CDWG on the Oakland County competitive bid with Columbus Software. Total cost of the printers not to exceed $10,313 plus installation. Is there discussion? Let's vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed say no. The motion carries.
Your Honor,
Yes, please.
Councilman Gettings wasn't present during the vote.
Oh, I'll ask for his vote. Mr.
Thank you,
Gettings?
sir.
The vote was for the police in-car printers. Are you in favor?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, Mr. Bliss.
All right, continuing on the agenda, it's item H, unfinished business. If council's willing to discuss this, first they need the procedural motion to untable this.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, please.
I move to remove from the table the issue regarding the DPS fueling site noted on the agenda as H1.
Thank you. Is there support to
Your Honor.
untable?
Your Honor.
Mr. Soltis?
Support.
Thank you. Motion was made by Councilman Corbett, seconded by Councilman Soltis, to remove from the table the matter regarding the underground storage tanks. Is there discussion to remove from the table? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The motion carries. All right, what's the wish of City Council regarding the underground? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Mrs. Marsh, do you first have a report?
I have quite a long comments because I wanted to make sure that the residents understood it, and it has come up before. So at the regular council meeting on May the 13th, the bid award purchase for the DPS fueling site was tabled, and more information was requested from staff regarding possible alternative uses and excess water and sewer funds identified to cover the budget overage for this project. And just an assessment of the overall necessity for the fueling site within the city. It has been determined that an outside fueling arrangement would not be feasible or cost-efficient and therefore has not been recommended by staff. However, this tabling did generate additional discussion internally and really spurred on extensive discussion about future replacement for a second fueling site. So the city has 2 fueling sites in the city, or originally did, at the DPS and 1 at the police department. In 2015, the police department site was decommissioned. However, the city and the council had that in the budget, and we have been phase funding that. The original estimate was $260,000 for the police department fueling station, with an additional $317,000 for the DPS fueling station. This phase funding started in fiscal year 2016, and through the prior fiscal year, we had accumulated $130,000 in the general fund towards the $260,000, which now has increased to $300,000. And the project for the DPS was budgeted and has been set aside for $492,000. So after much discussion and concession from the police department, the decision was made that the city could be most efficiently served by only having 1 fueling station. That fueling station will be located at the DPS. This will result in approximately $195,000 of savings in future capital expense and ongoing operational expenses of 2 different stations. However, this will require a few security upgrades to our DPS site. Several of these items will be addressed through operational changes and construction of the new fueling site. However, additional capital will be required to install a gate and a pedestrian gate similar to the one that we have at the police department, to install a camera system at the DPS and related monitoring at emergency dispatch, and to repave the police parking lot, which was damaged significantly when the original site was decommissioned. This paving project is sorely needed, and it has been held off pending what we were going to do with the fueling site. R.W. Mercer, who originally bid on this project, has indicated that they will continue to honor their original pricing for this project, having performed the additional research requested and presented in the attached report, which I can read, but it's really long, identified a significant cost savings through the elimination of a planned future project of the general fund and quantifying the necessary improvements required. Therefore, staff and I recommend that council untable this item for consideration and approve the proposed proposal from R.W. Mercer Company of Redford, Michigan for the replacement of the underground storage tanks and fueling site improvements at the DPS, which would be alternate number 4, for a total cost of $491,493. Funding has been carried forward and is available for this project, but due to the amounts initially estimated, staff will be preparing formal bids for those other few items, such as the security and the site improvements related to the upgrade of this. The total anticipated cost for those expenditures is $105,000. That will come from the money that has been set aside, and this will be significant savings from the $300,000 that would have been budgeted in future years for the general fund.
Okay, thank you. What's the wish of City Council? Any motions regarding this matter?
Mr. Mayor, I have a lot of questions, but to get it going, I'll put it on the table. I would move that the council accept the recommendation of staff regarding establishment of a single fueling site at the DPS yard. The total cost of the project, and stop me if I say this wrong, $491,493.
Yes.
Funding is partially carried forward and is available for the project. I'll stop there for the moment, sir.
Thank you. Is there support?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Gettings?
with reluctance, I will support it, put it on the table. Thank you.
Okay, motion was made by Councilman Corbett, seconded by Councilman Gettings to accept the staff recommendation regarding the single fueling location for a total project cost of $491,493. Is there a discussion?
Well, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I guess my first question is, and after I had read the report, I was a little confused by it. There's a reference on page 5, where you say that the elimination of a planned future project from the general fund. What project was that?
It's the police department fueling tanks, so those have been phase funded since 2016.
Yes.
At $50,000 and then $80,000, so we have $130,000 in the general fund that has been carried forward. I did not include that in the budget this year. There were no funds. We normally would have phase funded yet another phase of that, and then we had 2 more phases, but that 130 is just sitting there as a phased funded. We're in phase 2 of like phase 4 of those fuel tanks.
I guess, and I don't know if either possibly the chief or yourself could address it, the police department site already has a secure, I mean, I assume it's in the fenced yard, right? The old and would-be future fueling site if you opted to go that way. Yet now we're going to have to make changes to retrofit the DPS yard to adapt.
Well, the current gas pumps at the police department were decommissioned and everything there was removed. So there is no gas, anything at the police department right now. And the police department either has to go to use a WEX card somewhere else, or they have to go to the DPS, and they oftentimes fuel up after hours. But to replace that fueling site now at the police department is going to be around $300,000. That's an estimate today. We've already seen that the costs go up. So if we continue to phase fund, we're not going to have the money for 2 more years, not counting this year because we didn't put any money aside. So we were looking to only have 1 fueling site and eliminate that $300,000 cost.
Okay, but but like I said, you already have the security in place. I mean, you have the brand-new fencing, and you have cameras and whatnot, not to mention armed officers coming back and forth all the time.
That is going to cost approximately $105,000 to update everything at the DPS that we need to do to make it secure, to have people down there at 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever time it might be. So that would be a gate. We have some contractors currently that park down there. They're going to be moved out of the fenced area, and then we would be adding security cameras that would show back up to the dispatch. But that is still $195,000 cheaper than the current estimate for the gas pumps at the police department.
At the police station. And I don't recall, I went through the report and I couldn't find any reference to it. Was the site remediated at the police department when the tanks were removed? Was the dirt removed, any pollution and so on at that site removed? So it's a virgin site or a clean site at the moment?
Yeah, in the decommission of the site in 2015, that site was remediated. Any contaminated soil that was there
Okay.
was taken off-site.
Okay.
And the 105,000 includes the repair to the PD parking lot. It's not the improvement, just improvements to the DPS for security. That also includes $70,000, anticipated $70,000 for the repair to the PD parking lot.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Gettings.
Corey, could I ask you, the cost for the fencing versus the police station, what they have now would be drastically lower, correct? For the gate, and the motorized gate at the DPS?
Yes, we got an initial quote for the fence, very similar to what is at the PD right now. The idea, the intent is to have it identical to what the controls that police vehicles have for $15,000, $14,910.
That's like 1/5 of the cost, I think, of.
Right. The camera system, again, this was just an estimate, just a quote, was $10,000, and that would be directly wired to the police department.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mrs. Marsh, can you repeat the price options? If it's fueling only at DPS or fueling only at police or both?
Well, the cost to replace the fueling station at the police department is currently $300,000. We will still have to fix the parking lot, so that's about $70,000. And the fueling site at the DPS is $491,493. So this is an opportunity to consolidate both of those projects and save on the police department general fund site without replacing that.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Okay, maybe I misheard that. So if we do what the suggestion is, which is put the, all the fueling at DPS, it's $491?
It's $491,493. In addition to that, we will be doing separate bids for the gate that Corey just talked about and the security system, because those exceed $10,000, and the paving for the police department parking lot. Those three items are estimated to cost no more than $105,000. That will be in addition to the $491, $493.
Okay, 491 plus 105, so okay.
Yes.
So basically, roughly 600,000.
Yes.
But if we did it at the police station, it would be 300,000 plus another 70 to repave.
That's to have two fueling sites. That would be 300,000 at the PD and then 491 at the DPS.
Why can't we just do it at the police station and have DPS come?
It's we're talking about two different things. The DPS, and Corey can answer this question too because he did all the RFP, but at the DPS has diesel and it also has gas. The police department site only has gas. And then you have the sizes of tanks to accommodate. So it's going to be 491. That station is going to be 491 regardless of which location you put it. It's just if we had two stations, we would have diesel and smaller gas tank at the DPS, and then we would just have gas at the police department.
Corey, is there a reason we can't do diesel and gas at the police department?
Well, the idea is that the fueling site at DPS is a 27-year-old fueling station. It's got a diesel fuel tank, and it's also got a gasoline fuel tank. The life expectancy of that fueling system is 25 years, and we've exceeded that. The fueling station at DPS is going to eventually fail. The idea is that we would need to incorporate a fueling site that accommodates both diesel and gas. The original intent, the $300,000, was originally for gasoline only at the police department. That was based on a 2015 estimate. Now, whether or not that estimate is still going to be $300,000, and if we incorporate diesel and have one fueling site at the police department, that may be $500,000 as well. We don't have a quote or an estimate, but I have reason to believe that it would be the same amount or the same quote that it would be at the DPS.
Okay, so let's assume that you're correct, and it's going to be about 500,000. Just want to make sure I understand this. So we're making the assumption that for about 500,000, we can put gas and diesel at the police department, is that correct?
Well, that would save, there would be no decommission included in the police department fueling site, but there would still be a decommission and abatement of the DPS fueling site. If the DPS fueling site goes down, if it starts to leak, if any components fail, there would be an abatement cost for that as well. So if we were to do a fueling site at PD, I would estimate with diesel and gasoline, I would estimate it to be about $500,000.
Okay. And how much is it, if we said, all right, we're just putting it at the police department, and we're going to decommission the one that's 27 years old, what would the decommission cost be?
I don't recall what the decommission, I think it would be roughly the same as what we did when we decommissioned the police department. I don't recall that, Chief, do you remember?
Okay, so
I would say
40,000 plus inflation?
Yeah, 40 to 50,000, I think would be a fair estimate.
Okay, so if I've understood correctly, what I'm hearing is that we can decommission the DPS fueling, and we can put it all at the police department, and it will cost us approximately $550, which is less than the $600 that's being suggested, because we don't need to put up the gates. And we need to have the security. We have police officers going there in the middle of the night. We need the security. But we already have that at the police department. So I'm trying to understand why we're spending more when it sounds like the bulk of it's for the security that we don't need if we put it at the police department. So maybe someone can fill me in on what I'm missing here.
There was a practicality component that went along with that decision. The DPS fleet in particular, we have heavy equipment, heavy trucks. There's an asphalt parking lot at the police department and through City Hall right now. Accessibility, the ease of accessibility. We've got high-lows, we've got front-end loaders, all that would need to be transported down to the police department was our major issue. And the police fleet, the fire fleet, they're already out on the road. So it was the practicality component that went along with that decision.
Mr. Mayor? Go ahead.
Mr. Giddings?
Okay, Corey and I talked today on the phone, and he had mentioned to me that they had numerous meetings about which site would be the best, and I think Corey has touched on some of those. You know, in that the police are out and about anyways, so refueling for them would be a lot easier than when the guys leave the yard in the morning to just go and grab their fuel and then be on their way. It's saving time on the road going to the police department. So they did kick this around quite a bit. Maybe you can elaborate on that, Corey.
Yeah, that's exactly what we all considered is just that, is that to take a front-end loader from DPS to the police station is certainly more time-consuming and less convenient, rather than having the equipment fueled up right there at the DPS in the yard. The equipment that's used is not always that fast-moving. There's a potential for danger on the road. When you take a heavy loader or equipment on the road like that, that's not geared for travel on the roadway to bring it up to the City Hall, that's not always the safest measure. And on top of that, it would potentially cause damage to the asphalt pavement at in the police parking lot.
Okay, so you're talking about equipment that, not the DPS trucks that we see on the road?
Correct. Front-end loaders, backhoes, well, in addition to the tandem dump trucks that are fueled up routinely during snow events. It was more of a practicality standpoint or issue than anything else.
Your Honor, if I may. So I appreciate the research and insight from when we tabled this. This is exactly the exercise that I was hoping for personally, but I don't know that I'm necessarily satisfied. Couple reasons. First and foremost, it's a lot more staff that would be having to go and refuel and taking, I mean, it's only like a half a mile. I understand that, but you know, you have our public safety, all of those vehicles having to go out of their way. Then I do understand the whole routes concept, but it's probably not as simple at the end of a shift, depending on where they're coming from versus to be inside the police department parking lot, which is central to those two fleets. Like 2 of the 3 vehicle fleets are central to there. So I'm not quite grasping, and I understand there's some liability and they're heavier trucks, more expensive to put miles on, but we're talking about half a mile and 2 of the 3 vehicle fleets are already located there in that proximity. So I'm not sure that I understand that point, but equally, I'm a little worried about how that takes us and commits us to a second site. You know, Civic Center's not going anywhere in any long-term projection ever. But if we do this, we're now committing to that site for another 27 years, which I don't know that I'm willing to do as we're undergoing a master plan, as we're talking about, you know, strategic ways to be able to merge facilities and all of that. I don't know, this type of investment, if it's apples to apples and it's the same amount of cost, I would be much more comfortable if it was in the police department parking lot that already has the fence, that already has the security, and has 2 of the 3 vehicle fleets already there. I don't know, am I missing something?
Well, how do you, I mean, from the practicality argument, if there's a fleet of tandem dump trucks clogging up the police parking lot, and we need to empty the police department to go to some emergency run, but you have half a dozen tandem dump trucks in our police parking lot. I mean, yes, maybe if Grafstein's analysis is right, it costs a little bit more money to have it at DPS. I'd rather not have our police department shut down by construction traffic, especially during the busy cement days. Can you even picture one tandem dump truck snaking through that narrow police parking lot? I mean, it would take a major parking lot reconstruction design to get those big hauling pieces of equipment.
Mr. Mayor?
That's why I'm leaning towards just put it at DPS for a little bit more money, because I don't want to create a traffic jam at police parking lot. But gosh, strong arguments both ways. Mr. Gettings?
No, I didn't want to cut you off. One thing just came to my mind as we were talking is that if we have a big blizzard or a storm or any large amount of snow, this would be fairly simple for the trucks to fill up and then just leave the DPS to go out to plow snow. I know they have the option of filling them up the night before to make sure they are ready to go with salt and fuel, but to me, I think the DPS is the way to go.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
We were worried about high school kids cutting through the police parking lot. Now we're going to have a fleet of tandem dump trucks going through the police parking lot. It's not an easy solution, but I'm leaning towards DPS.
Your Honor, with due respect to the argument, though, in the middle of a snow emergency, if one of our public safety vehicles needs to fill up, the closer proximity is more important. So I think there's arguments on both sides. I just don't know. I'm not convinced that there's enough information to go one way or the other. If I had to pick right now, I would pick the police department, but I don't think that that analysis has been fully done. If we're having to add things up mathematically on Counselor Grafstein's written notepad, like, I just don't see that analysis of the two sites in front of me right now.
Can I ask one more?
I think staff did put in the analysis. I mean, we had numerous meetings about this and came to the decision that the DPS was the most logical and efficient solution in trying to eliminate 2 gas sites because our city is only 7 square miles. So I'm not sure what else we could present to council at this point, or what else like needs to be done to go through that exercise. If it's that you don't want to commit to the DPS lot for 25 years, I don't know how staff would be able to predict the future to know that that's what would be taken into consideration. I think if that's the reasoning, there's no more analysis that could be done about that particular.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Corbett?
So let me, I want to, a lot of numbers have been kicked around both ways. I just want to make sure I have an understanding of this. So if we, whatever reason, we didn't have the police cars, we maintained the site at DPS, but the police we gave them all credit cards, whatever, but they weren't going there. Are there any improvements at the DPS site that have to be made regardless of who's gassing up there?
No, we were making these security improvements specifically for the use because DPS, normally there's people there when they're gassing up and it's like normal hours or there's a snow emergency, there's staff there. The police department could be going down there and be a few people or 1 person down there. So we were increasing the security because the police department's going to be regularly fueling there. I did want to mention, especially for the public's purpose, because I know council got to read this in the report, and the public could have as well, but we save about $72,000 a year by having our own gas station instead of going to one of the mini gas stations in the city because, you know, like I just said, we're only 7 square miles, so why wouldn't the police department or DPS just roll into Myers or the Shell gas station on the corner? We get a significant savings by buying our gas and having our own fuel site.
Are you able to quantify that at all?
We saved $72,120 this past year based on, I can tell you.
Is that just like a straight mileage times usage and?
Well, I have the number of gallons of gasoline that we purchased over the past year and the number of gallons of diesel that we purchased over the past year, and the city spends approximately $1.99 per gallon of gasoline, and we spend about $1.91 per gallon of diesel. That changes depending on the market, but that was the average. So the average in the actual market, had we gone to a Myers or a Shell gas station, would have been $2.69 for gasoline and $2.94 for diesel. So when you just do the math times the gallons and subtract the two, the savings is $72,000 for 1 year.
Well, then I guess where I end up coming down is I end up, I think, at the same spot as the mayor is on this question. As far as at 3 o'clock on a wintry morning, I think I like the idea of the salt, the truck, and the gas all being in the same place. And you know, because the police have a little more police units, and I assume the fire chief too, right? Doesn't he?
Yeah, the fire engines would go down there to gas up as well.
Yeah, okay. I'm good, thank you, sir.
I mean, we did make sure that there was turning radius in the police department to do it, but if we did decide to go with the police station, it would require a brand-new RFP process.
Oh, I was going to say, you're going to have to do some reconstruction there of the, first of all, that lot's going to take a beating.
Well, we're going to have to redo that parking lot regardless. That parking lot, which is $70,000 of the 105, is going to have to be done regardless of where you put the gas station.
Okay.
I have 2 more questions.
Yes, please.
Okay, one of them is what if we did diesel at DPS? Because it sounds like the police don't need the diesel, they just need the gas, and we put the gas at the police station, and then it's just the pickup trucks and the trucks that are going around the city from DPS. So we don't have the concern about the
That was the original thought, and that's what's been in the budget for the past 3 years. But to add the gas tank in with the diesel was a small cost. Do you remember the exact dollar amount?
I don't remember the exact dollar amount.
But to add just the gas station at the PD is around $300,000 now. But to do the diesel, it's only slightly less. I wanted to think it was like 60,000, but I'm not 100% sure on that, just to add it to the site that they're doing at the DPS.
Sorry, so from the 490, if we took out the gas, and just did diesel, it would be 430? Is that?
That's what I think. I would have to
Roughly?
go
Okay.
back and look at the actual RFP, which I have here, so I
That's
can
okay.
look
So
through
it
it.
would be over 700,000 to do that then.
But then you,
Yes, you have to rebuild the gas station at the PD for
Okay.
some reason, and I was in the finance department at the
Fine.
time. When they decommissioned the gas tanks at the PD, they completely took down everything, including the canopy, even though that probably could have been salvaged. So we have to rebuild that whole area.
Okay, final question, have you looked at a portable fuel station for the police department for gas? Is that an option? Would
We have
be
not
above ground?
researched, we have not researched the portable fuel station for the police department.
It would be above ground, so the contamination wouldn't be an issue. And I know a few years ago, they started at $10,000. I don't know what it would be now, but even with inflation, it would be significantly less than 300. Is that an option that can be looked at? I'm thinking if it costs less, taking into account that the parking structure still needs to be, the police parking lot still needs to be repaved. I think forgetting the money side of it, it would be easier for the police to just walk out their door and be able to fuel up. And so if we could do a temporary, which aren't necessarily temporary, that's just what they're called.
Yeah, the concern with that if we had a temporary above-ground fueling station is really the safety and liability there. Now, we live in a world here that people want to do harm. An above-ground fuel site and gas station and a police parking lot, I don't know would bode well for evildoers. My personal opinion.
Your Honor?
it's in the firework fallout zone anyway, so it may be an innocent mistake. Yes, sir.
So instead of speculating, can we have the Chief Corey Haynes give the opinion from the police department's perspective?
Thank you, Chief. Welcome back.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council members. I want to be very cautious as I step forward here. We've had a lot of meetings internally about this. It is not my preference, and it's been widely known, as the city manager stated earlier, this was a concession by the police department. It's always been my fear since we started having to gas up down at DPS is we're putting our police officers in a very dangerous situation. They're gassing up at all hours of the night. They're generally alone. Now we have at least 2 cars trying to go down there at a time. Unfortunately, with police work, it's not like DPS work, for the most part. Although DPS gets called in after hours, certainly, when they have water main breaks, things of that nature, police work is always the unknown. We don't know when they're gonna be there gassing up. It's not the same every night. We don't gas up, you know, if our shift ends at 11, not everybody's there gassing up at 11. It just, unfortunately, doesn't work that way. And that is why the city manager was gracious enough to allow us to add in some protective measures, i.e. the gate. Right now, the DPS lot is unsecured 99% of the time. There's contractors that are there all hours of the day and night. In fact, there's been Councilor Grafstein mentioned about a temporary fuel station. There's been a temporary fuel station at DPS for the last 20 years. And that has been through a private contractor that's had a private station down there. So there's a lot of different factors that went into the considerations. Again, our biggest consideration was safety. We did do some preliminary looking at the fire truck to find out if fire trucks could make the turns inside the police lot. What we had determined is that originally, like the city manager had stated, although she wasn't the city manager at the time, we had many talks back when the police station fuel pumps were decommissioned. It was not supposed to be that way. We were guaranteed that the canopy, the island, and everything was going to stay except for the underground fuel tanks. When I came into work a few days later, it was demolished. It was completely gone. It's at that point that we started having numerous conversations several years ago about how we were going to rebuild the police station gas pumps. I don't think it was ever considered really by the powers that were at that time that we were ever going to get the gas pumps again. So that's been kind of the overarching elephant in the room, so to speak, for the last several years. And now we've gotten to this impasse to where we have conceded. We've said that we only need one gas station in the city. We're only 7.5 square miles. We don't physically need 2 gas stations. But when you look at fleet management, 72% or higher of the regular unleaded fuel is consumed by PD and City Hall fleet. So not only do you have the City Hall fleet located here in Civic Center, you have the police fleet located here, you have the fire fleet here. The only vehicles that we have at DPS are DPS-specific related vehicles. As far as what Mayor brought up about having several of the large axle dump trucks coming through the lot, that's why we have an entrance and an exit, or two exits, 2 entrances. We always have a way out of the police lot now. We have the cameras that are there, which was mentioned. We have the automatic gates for, I believe, approximately $4,000. We can order enough remote controls to get every one of the other fleet vehicles entered into the lot. So just as something else to consider.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor,
Yes.
just one more question for the chief. You had mentioned the fire trucks turning, if it was the single source at inside the police department parking lot, all of those large trucks, including the fire trucks, would be able to make those turns and get in and out and fuel up?
Yes, in fact, what was recommended by one of the companies that we had spoken with was that the way the gas pumps were before is they were kind of facing north and south, and we would cant them so they were northwest, southeast. That way, when the fire truck comes in this side of the lot, they'd go through, they'd go out in an angle, and they would be poised right for the exit lot and wouldn't have to do any turning around or anything further.
Your Honor, I reaffirm my support to have the single location in the police department parking lot with 3/4 of the city's fleet, all centrally located there. To me, it doesn't make sense to put it anywhere else. But
All right, let's call the question. There's a motion made by Councilman Corbett, seconded by Councilman Gettings, to accept the staff recommendation of the single fueling location at DPS for a project cost of $491,493. All in favor?
Your Honor, can I get a roll call vote?
That's fine. Will the clerk
And
please
this
take
is
it?
for DPS?
Yeah, this is to put it at
Yeah, the
DPS.
staff recommendation, to adopt the staff recommendation. So if you support the staff recommendation, your vote is yes. If you do not support the staff recommendation, your vote is no. Clerk, will you please take the vote?
Mayor Pro Tem Bliss,
No.
Councilman Corbett,
Yes.
Councilman Gettings,
Yes. Yes.
Councilor Grafstein,
No.
Councilwoman Scott,
Yes.
Councilman Soltis,
No.
Mayor Hartwell.
I vote yes, the motion carries. We can continue on in the agenda. We have 3 sets of minutes. The first one is from the Joint City Council, DDA, and Planning Commission meeting from 8/8/19. What's the wish of City Council?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
So I move that the minutes from the Joint City Council DDA Planning Commission meeting of 8/8/19 be approved as printed.
Thank you. Is there support?
Your Honor.
Ms. Grafstein?
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion regarding the minutes from the joint meeting of 8/8/19? All right, let's vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed say no. The motion carries. What's the wish of council regarding the regular city council meeting of 8/12/19?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
So I move that the council approve the regular meeting minutes of 8/12/19 as printed.
Thank you. Is there support?
Your Honor.
Ms. Grafstein?
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion regarding the regular meeting minutes of 8/12/19? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. What's the wish of council regarding the joint city council and Brownfield Review Authority meeting of 8/19/19?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'm on a minute roll. I move that we approve the City Council Brownsfield Redevelopment Association?
I think it's authority. but
Authority,
you can
there we
correct
go. Meeting minutes of 8/19/19.
me. Thank you. Is there support?
Your Honor.
Mrs. Scott? Sorry, Ms.
Support.
Bastian, I ruined the perfect hat trick. Mrs. Scott? Thank you.
I second it, yeah.
Any discussion regarding the minutes from the joint City Council and Brownfield meeting of 8/19/19? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The motion carries. All right, we don't have an executive session tonight or further business, so before we adjourn, I'd invite any closing comments. Mr. Corbett?
Just one quick item, well, two actually. I'll be resuming office hours after the Friday after Labor Day. I'll be at the library on Fridays, beginning, well, week from this Friday. So if anybody has any complaints, concerns, questions, please feel free to stop by. We're right by the main desk there. And just otherwise, wanted to wish everyone a happy and safe Labor Day weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bliss?
Just welcome aboard to all of our new appointees to our boards and commissions. As noted earlier, we have an incredible amount of volunteers in the city who do an enormous amount of work, not just volunteering in the city, but also helping us craft policy that is tied directly into what our citizens want. We rely heavily, I know I personally rely heavily on our boards and commissions. Those that serve make a huge impact in our city. And I'm really glad with the process that we've been able to narrow down. Our clerk, Mrs. Prince, did a phenomenal job putting this together, getting it all in one fell swoop as opposed to sporadically throughout every single meeting throughout the year. So I'm really excited about that. And then the other thing was noted by Councilor Grafstein earlier, we're seeing a lot of applications from those with backgrounds in those areas. I know Planning Commission is extremely grateful for those that work in that field. We have the same thing in the Arts Board and in ITech and the Environmental Committee. I mean, it's so awesome to have and be able to rely on those professionals in our city. And in fact, I guess one of the new appointees to the Library Advisory Board is a retired librarian. To be able to leverage that type of experience to help us guide the future of the city is absolutely amazing. And so if you are sitting at home and you have a background, you have experiences, you have a passion in something that one of our boards and commissions are doing, please start coming to the meetings. You can put in an application now. And the next wave of these that comes through, I believe in February, is going to be a great opportunity to get on board. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Gettings?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please.
Everyone, enjoy Labor Day weekend, drive safe, recreate, visit your parks, and enjoy the time off. Everyone's earned it. I thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. City Attorney, Mr. Sherman?
It's hard to believe that Labor Day weekend is already upon us, but I would, same comment, happy and safe holiday weekend for all of our residents, council, and your families.
Thank you. City Manager, Mrs. Marsh?
No comments tonight.
Thank you. City Clerk, Ms. Prince?
First, I'd like to thank council for helping get through that first process of the boards and commission appointments. We do still have some vacancies, so if anybody has any background in Construction Board of Appeals, would like to serve in the Elected Officials Compensation Committee, Information Technology Advisory Commission, please contact the clerk's office or go online and fill out an application. Absentee ballot applications are available now at the city clerk's office for the November 5th election. If you'd like an application, please contact our office, or if you want to be added to the permanent absentee list, please also contact our office. Our number is 5830826. We can add your name to the permanent absentee list, and for every election, you'll be given an application to fill out. If you fill that out and return it to our office, we'll send you an absentee ballot. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks. Ms. Grafstein?
I would like to thank everybody who participated in this weekend's garage sale. From most of what I've heard, it was a success. People really liked that they had the map. There were a few people who didn't get a lot of traffic, and I'm looking for suggestions because it seems that most people want to do something like this again. So just looking for suggestions. Some of the suggestions we've got so far: to have it earlier in the year, to do a bit more advertising, you know, maybe post the list a little bit earlier so that people might see that one of their neighbors is doing it and they decide, oh, my neighbor's doing it, I'm going to do it as well. At the end of the garage sale on Saturday and Sunday, because there were people who also hosted garage sales on Sunday, Kim Clark went around and picked up a lot of the leftovers that they're going to be giving away at a free rummage sale at the church next weekend, and I'd like to have that also in place. That was last minute. She sort of piggybacked on the garage sale and was like, oh, what are people doing with the leftovers? Why don't we do this? I love it. I thought that was a great idea, but I'd like to be able to have that a little bit more formalized so that next year, you know, we have someone from the churches coming out and they know, and they've got the addresses ahead of time when people register to be on the site. They can also say that they'd like to have the pickup. So those are just some of the ideas that I've had and that people have said to me. So if you have other ideas, please contact me. Let me know things that you did like, things that you would like to see changed. And I'm really hoping that it's something that we can add to the calendar so that everybody knows. For example, it's the third week in June. So that, and then other community building ideas, looking at doing some kind of an adopt a berm, something where you know, you've got an area in a park, you've got a berm in your neighborhood, and you want to do some gardening there, similar to what they've got at the zoo, where you've got a little area that people, volunteers come in and take care of. So I'd like to see something with that. It's something I'd like the environmental committee to be overseeing, but you don't have to be on the environmental committee in order to participate. We're looking for volunteers outside of that. Also looking at doing a Halloween costume swap. I was approached by a couple of members of one of the school PTAs about doing something like that on a citywide basis, so we're bouncing around ideas with that. Again, that might be something that the environmental committee looks at as well, because it's looking at reducing what you're buying and reusing what you have. And just any other ideas that people have that are low cost, that are, you know, community building ideas, let me know. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Scott?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, we have a city manager here who has more lofty goals than I have ever heard. She actually climbed Pikes Peak recently, and I mean, that is a triumph that I think very few people are ever able to do, but I congratulate you. We know you're a physical fitness guru, and we appreciate that because I know it makes your job here beneficial to everybody to emulate your prowess in exercising, and I want to congratulate you for giving that honor. I also wanted to say good luck to all the students who are going back to college or starting college new this week and very soon upcoming. They worked hard, and they have their directions set, and I think that's wonderful that they are following their dreams, and hopefully they can do it financially all right. I also wanted to ask if we might consider issuing a proclamation to Nowak and Frous, our city engineers. They will be celebrating their 50th anniversary on September 20th, and they are having a gathering that I hope that our council can attend and present a resolution for their success. Both Howard Nowak and Mr. Frous have both gone on, and but they have very dedicated employees. They have a very nice video that you can see if you go into Nowak and Frous and see how enthusiastic their employees are to be working there. So I think it would be nice if we gave them a proclamation for that. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Soltis?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So each week now each council session, I'm going to talk about our diaper bank. It's starting to grow. It's growing in leaps and bounds. We are working with Lanford School Districts, and we're going to work with Madison School District as well. And when I deliver the diapers myself, I noticed that there is a huge need, not just with supplies, but a whole host of issues that single moms with children face. It's difficult times. So the more that we can get donations, the more we can help the young moms or the moms with young children. And I think it's a definite need here in the city. So please, just whatever you can do, we'd appreciate any type of diapers or formula or what have you, because there's really aren't that many programs out there in the county that offer for single moms. So whatever you can do, we appreciate. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to staff. Thank you to the city manager. Won't disclose what was said directly to her, but we city council performed its regular performance evaluation of Melissa Marks, our city manager, and she is an excellent leader, and I'm excited to have the chance to review her in the future again. But she's one that needs no criticism or correction. However, she's open to it. But Melissa, you've been a fantastic leader to your employees. You've been a great partner to City Council. And, you do a great job listening to the residents and always answering them with interest and curiosity. And so thank you for spending so much time here. But I know there's a joke. You do deserve more vacation. So take some time off once in a while, because we do want you refreshed here. We want you to come to work happy. But thank you, Melissa, for everything you do. Now that the political dust has settled in Pontiac, Michigan, Oakland County has a new county executive, and it's a dear friend of many of ours. Dave Coulter is the mayor of Ferndale, formerly was the mayor of Ferndale. He also served on the county commission as a commissioner. He's been a friend of mine for years. I have dinner with him every month. This is going back 4 or 5 years. And just by happenstance, I was sitting next to him at the moment he was appointed. And it was exciting just to get him whispering in my ear about his reactions. And I think that's great for the south end of Oakland County, to have a mayor from the south end of the county now in control of the resources that the county has. Already in his first week, he's evaluating region-wide projects to bring transit to cities even like Madison Heights that aren't on Woodward, for example, but to still bring public transit to our city. He's talked about public health systems that can help our employees and our residents. He's talking about expanding a land bank, which county pretty much already operates now. But it's been a time for new ideas. I'm really excited that our friend Dave Coulter is in control of county government. That's good for Madison Heights. It's good for Oakland County. And I personally support Dave Coulter in the next 1.5 years on the job. So with that, we can adjourn this meeting. Have a great Labor Day.